Well, hello again. I'm delighted to be back with you and here in this session where we look at marking and giving feedback, particularly how to do that on Writer's Toolbox. It's a good topic, yes. It's one that's close to all our hearts, I suspect. We spend as teachers a lot of time marking. Sometimes some of us would say far too much time marking. So perhaps I could offer a few preliminary suggestions, some thoughts on that to begin with, and then we'll get into the topic of marking and how you can do some of that within Writer's Toolbox and the sort of features that the site offers us to interact with our students. It's a niggly topic because it's an important one, but it does consume a lot amount of our time. And some research teachers spend as much as 16 hours a week involved in marking student work. So it's a lot. It's a big investment for a teacher. And I think one of the things I'd like to say from the outset is this. We're markers, we're coaches, we're guides, we're teachers. We are not editors. Stop editing your students' work. Look at your job description. It does not say sub-editor. It says teacher. And I really feel for my colleagues as I travel around schools in the way I do, and I'm in a privileged position. I get in easily over 100 schools a year, and to sit down with many of you out there in the profession. And my heart just sort of breaks when you see a piece of student work and there are red pen comments at the rate of every other line, and every textual, grammatical, spelling, punctuational, clerical intervention is marked up on this page. My goodness, you must be going through, some of you, at least 9 red pens a fortnight. I feel for you, but think about it from the student's perspective too. You are over marking. Stop it. Start teaching. Stop over marking. Now, I hope from this series that you'll sense that the teacher can intervene here very early on. Some of the things that we get as teachers we should never see. So intervene early. Cast better questions so you actually deliver from your students paragraphs that are on topic. Use checkpoint systems. We do here at in my teams when we coach schools and we help teachers around this. We use some great checkpoint systems to minimize the opportunity the student will go off topic and off reservation. Here's one. Just say to the students, you can't go past your introduction unless my signature's next to it on the page. Now you think about that for a second. That very simple checkpoint system will avoid some horrific writing disasters. The poor kid who hasn't understood the question properly won't write an entire piece off question, giving a great answer to something that never existed in the first place. The student who hasn't understood it clearly can have that articulated to them before they get any further. The person who's just going to describe endlessly and hasn't actually come to a position yet can have that worked through before they progress. The child who lacks focus can have that talked about, so that the work that transpires after the introduction is so much better and doesn't need your red pen. There's a range of things you can do as a teacher, starting with the question, to lessen the burden on you as a marker, someone who gives feedback, not editing, feedback. And I suppose one other suggestion as you chew these things over would be this. If you've got more than 4 or 5 red marks on one side of a piece of paper, A4, you've got too many. You've got too many. You're editing, not marking. The student will invariably get things wrong. We know this. It's the process of learning. Of course they will. But your challenge as a marker, as somebody who's looking beyond the immediate to the developmental journey of the child, is not to say what's wrong here and what are all the things going wrong, but is to say, of all the things going wrong, what are the 2 that I could actually improve here today with this child, with this piece? What are the other things that I can just let go? I know they're a disaster. I know they're not working, but I'm going to take a longer view of their development. And what are the 2 that I could improve right now? That this child could experience some sense of victory over these things, some sense of accomplishment, and build their confidence rather than just feeling I'm never going to get anything right. I've got everything wrong about writing. Do you see the difference? It's really important. So think, and that's part of the discussion I have with you today as we look at marking inside this tool. What are the 2 key things I could give some comment on here? And focus on those. That's enough. The child sincerely is going to try and improve something. Otherwise, we turn our students merely into click accept people. And you remove the cognitive functioning from the brain that's thinking, oh, what's really going on here and how can I make it better? They're just going to go and become like you do on some spell checkers, just click accept, 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 and you're never really thinking. We want thinking people about their writing, about their pieces. We're training the craft of writing. So there's some initial thoughts from me to kick things off. Now let's jump inside. I hope that's been helpful. Now let's jump inside Writer's Toolbox and have a look in detail at how we can do some of these things and give some feedback to our students. And I'll also, if you prompt me and if I remember, tell you what some of my priorities are for when you think, what are the most important things to talk about first in a piece of writing? And I'll give you some suggestions. Can't do everything in the 30 minutes, but I'll give you a couple of suggestions. So let's jump inside. Fabulous. Now, what we have here as I bring my screen together is Writer's Toolbox. You can see here, and I'm going back to my student screen. There I am. I'm logged in as a student. Actually, I might log out as a student and straight back in as a teacher to give you an appreciation of that first. Let's do that. Let's just go in as a teacher. And here's my teacher's dashboard. Now I've sent off some writing to my students. And so the question here is, Ian, where do you find all this stuff? How can I give some feedback on it? Well, the answer is back where you started. In Writer's Toolbox, the place to work to give feedback is straight back where you began. You created a task that went out to your students. So we're going to go back there when we're thinking about giving them feedback. Go into task menu, and the task that you'd like to see how your students are getting on or give feedback, you merely just click on that same task all over again. These are my active ones. They're the ones that still sit within the due date. And so they're the ones that my class is still actually working on now out there in writing world. So here we go. I'm going to go click on the baked beans. I did quite enjoy that, showing you doing this piece with you. I'm going to click on baked beans. Here's a little brief overview of my tasks that went out to the students. It's just the central image I used, which is a wonderful image and is making me hungry by the minute. It's lunchtime, of course. I've got these other functions here. If I get really excited as a teacher, because some others have said to me, Ian, I love this baked beans thing. Can you share it with me? Of course, I can just control it from this screen here too. I can find a teacher in my school, just start typing a name. Of course, there's nobody begins with the name B in my school, or the name of Eric. No, oh yes, no, there is. We got a Betty Potter. There we go. And so I could send this task to Betty. There she is. Task has been sent. She loved it. She's now got it. It's that easy. I've sent the task to students. It's already gone. We know that. The sent is a track of the classes that task has been sent to. That's very helpful. And submissions are the students who have begun work on that piece. Anybody in my class who initiates any aspect of this task, their names will immediately appear on submissions. So there are more students in my class than whose names are appearing here. That tells me anybody whose name is not here has not begun this task. So before I click into submissions, there's one more thing I just want to show you. If we go back to task info, this is a helpful little feature we have built in for you. Right here, look, due date. When the due date closes off as a teacher in Writer's Toolbox, the students will not be able to enhance or develop that task further for you. It's locked off. That stops somebody later going on and adding things after the due date. If you feel, on the other hand, that some of your students need a bit more time to do a task, that's easy. You just click on the menu there, click on the due date, and I can extend the due date. I can give these little scallywags, I'll give them the weekend, they can have now till Monday the 4th. Updates, and the task now is going to remain open for completion by my class till Monday the 4th. It's that easy. So that's quite useful, yes? Now let's go back to submissions, because this is a very handy window. This is my task, and I'm going to click on submissions again. As I said earlier, here are the students who've all begun. Just click on the name of a student. Boris Watson, good old Boris. Down here to the left-hand side, you'll see some icons appear. These, of course, match the icons across Writer's Toolbox. The yellow icon with the blue dots is the creativity, the brainstorming application we have. The blue one with the paragraph box is the box planning application we have. And of course, the lovely pink with the pen and the piece of paper is the writing tool. That's your clue. If I click on the yellow, up will come Boris Watson's Brainstorm. This is one of my favorite, I've got a few. This is actually one of my favorite bits of Writer's Toolbox, because it's all very well and good seeing somebody's writing. But it's all very well and good seeing someone's writing, but writing's just the end result. What about the thinking? And sometimes as teachers, you know, if we wanted students to prepare well for the eventual writing, we want to see that they've actually made a diligent effort at the creativity stage when they've generated some ideas and when they've gone and planned. You know, because I know some of you are very experienced teachers out there, you know, if somebody doesn't spend time in the planning stage, the work suffers. They begin writing and it goes anywhere, and the result is often disastrous. Why? Because the discipline of planning creates focus and attention and important pre-thinking into the writing. So this is lovely. In Writer's Toolbox, as a teacher, you can see every step of the thinking and the writing process. It's quite exciting. So let's go back. I'll show you. So here we are, and I've clicked submissions, and I've clicked on Boris Watson, and I just click over here on the, mind map icon. There's Boris's plan. The forward arrow will immediately take me forward to the next student. And look, there's Mia Johnson. Mia's done a great piece of planning, and I can click on these, they blow up. This is cool. Look, she's obviously concerned that maybe baked beans aren't the best suggestion, and she's giving this some more thought. They're ridiculously expensive in Auckland, says Mia. You can see how the students is advancing in their generative skills as a thinker. It's very handy. And then I go to the next student. There's Nigel, and old Nigel Thornberry, he has clearly been doing everything but doing some brainstorming on this topic. So I can have a discussion with that student on their particular needs, not just attack him for his writing, which may be deficient, if he hasn't even done the pre-thinking, and I can see it here. You don't run into the problem where the student says, oh, I lost my piece of paper. Here it is. Equally, I can go over here and I can check out any step of that student's thinking process. There is the box plan that I wanted Nigel Thornberry to spend some time on. And clearly, look, Nigel is not. There is nothing in these boxes at all. Let's see how the others got on. Here's Mia's. And look, she's at least having a go. And I can now have a discussion at a different level with her as a teacher about how she's shaping her plans before she goes to write. You can now, as a teacher, even make the planning stages of a piece accessible in Writer's Toolbox. You can make them a requirement and you can see how well the students are doing and give them feedback. That's quite exciting, don't you think? Because you're now looking much more holistically at the development of this writer and their capabilities. Boris, how did Boris go? Yes, look, fabulous. Boris has done a great piece of planning there. Love it, Boris. The next one, the pink with the pen and the piece of paper, is of course is writing. And in this screen of submissions, as I'm clicking through these first three, I'm having this wonderful opportunity. I'm just looking at the student work. Look, they've all had a go here. They've all sort of partly through their first paragraph. That's great. Boris is on a bit further, but the others are up to their end of their first paragraph. Think of this as a review function as a teacher. You're able at arm's length. This is a bit like walking around your classroom and looking over the shoulder of the student's writing. And you're saying, oh, look, he's doing really well. She's progressing quite nicely. This function here on Writer's Toolbox is exactly that. You can click through and see every aspect of their planning and thinking process, and you don't physically touch the work at all as a teacher. You're just reviewing it. Then, when you make the decision to give some feedback, you click the green with the A+ icon that's bright green and A+. This is go and give some feedback. Brand new. And this is the screen that appears. Now let's talk about this screen because it's important. The marking interface of Writer's Toolbox has some unique features. What you see here is our software has taken a photograph of the student's work. This is, as soon as I hit the green button, the software took a snapshot, and this is exactly what Nigel had written as of 4/21 on the 22nd of April. There it is. If Nigel continues writing later this afternoon, he can do as much as he likes. It won't appear here because I've taken a snapshot. This is quite useful because it allows you as a teacher, if you, through the formative process, to go in and snap how the students are getting on maybe a week in, a few days into the task. And then when you're ready to give your summative feedback, you can go in again and you'll take a brand new photograph of that work at the end. If you want to show parents before and after, you can do that because you never lose these versions of the work. If you want to sit down with a student, have a student conference. Look, a week ago you were here. I gave you this feedback. Look where you are now. It's difficult to do that with traditional word processors, but Writer's Toolbox allows this to occur. So let's give some feedback. I'll show you how these features work. It offers the opportunity to comment at the level of the paragraph. And Nigel's written, I love breakfast. Actually, even writing about breakfast like this is making me hungry. I think I better stop and go and see if Mum has any leftovers in the fridge, which she often does about now, and I really like it because sometimes it's cold apple pie or leftover lasagna, which is from Italy, and I particularly, which is a pretty good word for me to use, us writes Nigel, I particularly like Italian food. So I'm going to give a comment to Nigel. Now I can type a comment here as a teacher, and we do. We type endlessly. So I could say something like this. Nigel, good start. I am impressed you spelt particularly correct. That was unusual for you. Well done. I'm going to save that, and I've now saved the comment attached to that paragraph. But I can do more. So there's my comment. Let's just get rid of it. I'm going to use the trash box there. Yes, I want to delete that comment. It's gone. Let's go over to the side here, because the great way this tool is built for feedback is, I know you as teachers, I know you spend too much time marking, and I know you often say the same thing again and again. This marking interface has been built to allow you to set it up. You could take 20 minutes, set this up with some of the things you say again and again and again, and you just have to type them once. So here we go. Let's just say, look, good start. That's the title of this comment. You know, good start, Nige. Good start. It's really good to see you getting underway. Now push on. I know you. I like what you're saying. You are saying, and the direction. Keep going. Write. Cast another paragraph. I'm going to click add, and over here I've added that particular comment. You can build a bank here of comments you say regularly, and it's as simple as add a comment, click on the one I like, save. You see what I'm saying? If we have multiple paragraphs here, you can just click on the paragraph, drop a comment across, move on, send to student. It's that fast. I'm trying to make it to give you time as a teacher to make the giving of feedback easy, and also not to over feedback for the child. If there's something in the paragraph, go back up here again, I'll show you some of the other features. If there's something in the paragraph that you particularly want to bring out, we have this handy little highlighter tool here, which you can use. If you don't like where you've highlighted, as soon as the hand appears, I can click on that, it disappears again. But if I quite like this here, I can edit my comment. Oh, Nige, by the way, the highlighted bit is too long as a sentence. Make it 2. Save. When I send this off to the student, Nigel's going to get these comments. I can too, if I'm going through, put a summary comment about the overall piece of work, overall. There are 2 really good things about this piece. And I begin to type those in. I can enter a grade and I can give it either a letter grade or a number grade. Writer's Toolbox takes both. If I'm not ready as a teacher to give it a grade, I can just work through these submissions, saving them. It's saved now. Go to the next one. It pulls up Boris's work. I'm going to add some comments to Boris's work. Here we go. You're a genius, Boris. I love that. And this paragraph down here, oh, that's fantastic. Well done, Boris. Save that there. Keep going. Done. You see how fast this can be? I got a bit stuck here. Yes, you did, you goofball. No, you wouldn't say it. Usually some of you might say that to your students. But stop playing Call of Duty and get back to this assignment. Task. You can do it. Actually, I quite like that. I'm going to add that to my quick comments. Just give it a title. Call that one Come On. Save, and it both keeps it in Boris's one and adds it to my bank across the side there. You see, I can build them up. If I have a title I don't particularly like, I can delete it, or I can move it up and move it down my list as I arrange my comment bank to give this to make feedback efficient and effective for me as a teacher. Now, something I just need to show you before we leave the screen is this. There's Boris's. That's Nigel's. Here's Mia's. And I'm in the marking page. So as I've gone through to Mia's, I have now taken a brand new snapshot of that piece of work and look at the top. This is just a bit to be aware of, because we take this photograph, which is great for teaching. It also means sometimes teachers go, oh, where are my comments? No. You have marked, this is the 3rd time now as a teacher I've been into Mia's work. I can go back to version 1 and there are my original comments that I made to Mia before I sent those things off to her as a student. So, and I can go back to version 2 and so on. I can see the different versions that the student produced. So just be aware of that. This feature here, when we're in the marking interface, it allows this capability of taking a snapshot and then working around that snapshot with the teacher, with the student. So let me just go back for a second and I'll show you some of the other features in tasks. When you're ready with your submissions and you've done your marking, you can print selected submissions, export them, export all the grades, or submit all the grades to all the students at once. That's really handy. So I could just select that and go, you know what? Let's export them. And now what it has done, it has downloaded as a zip file to your downloads as a teacher those students' work, and you can see that there on my screen. Every essay automatically has been created as a PDF with the student's name attached to it. This is a great feature, and there, because the little darlings sometimes completely forget to put their name on it, Writer's Toolbox puts the title of the piece of work at the top and automatically adds the student's name. And there is Boris's work. It was as easy as that export function allowed. Straight away, I took off the work. Straight away now I've got a zip file with every student's PDF in it, and it's there for me as a teacher. in any form I want to manipulate it further. I think you'll like that feature. Yeah, it's a good feature. So lastly, let's, in the couple of minutes we have left, there's quite a lot here, isn't it? It's exciting. I'll just log out as the teacher and I'll log back in as Boris to show you. Actually, it was Nigel, wasn't it? We worked on Nigel's work, I think. Nigel. I think we worked on Nigel's. To show you what happens. Nigel has, if you can see it in the top corner there, a notification. Oh, I must have marked Boris's work. You might get to trouble. It's senility, you see, it just takes hold, and then when you don't realize it, it comes upon you. And Boris, I can't remember the student I marked the work for. Ah, there it is. It was Boris. You should have told me. You didn't leave, left me there on purpose, didn't you? Naughty people. Right. My teacher's name comes up. That's me. I've marked your work, and Boris simply goes through, and he's taken through a marking page where he can see my comments. He can also interact with my comments and respond back to me as a teacher. He can click through the different versions, and when he's finished seeing those, and obviously I commented on Mia's and not on this particular version of his work, I can continue with my piece. As a student, go straight into my piece. So I can see my work and then move back into my piece. As you can see, it must have been Mia's. I've tripped up myself. Look, I hope that helps. That's how our marking tool works. That's how the teacher can interact with the student. That's how the student can then find what the marked piece back from the teacher. When the teacher in charge of the class opens the correct student account. But I think also you appreciate the exciting possibilities that are there in terms of efficiency with the tools around marking to pre-type up those comments you say all the time, and there's rapidly drop them back to the student and send them off. And they've got that feedback in a timely and effective way from you. Well, thanks for watching today. Look forward to being again with you tomorrow.